What else is going on? Oh, I saw this Kanye West stuff. Everybody's all on Kanye West. And he was talking about, first of all, he's almost like a lab rat in a way. He has that mental, he shows up and he talks about mental health, and you can't tell sometimes where he's coming from. He's caught up in that Kardashian universe. So you wonder like how much of that weird influence or how much of that influence is really just shaping him and, or unshaping him. I mean, he obviously has some like Jesus complex at times. He's also been hailed like a messiah in some ways, a hero. He has a musical genius and a creative genius, really. I think some people are just creative geniuses. Like I've said this about John Mayer before. I've met John Mayer a few times, and I've had some good conversations with him. And I think that John Mayer would have been a genius in anything he chose to do. It could have been painting. It could have been comedy. He would have excelled at it at the highest level. He just chose music. Some people have that. And maybe Kanye had that as well, or has that. But one of the things that they got on Kanye, or that, a lot of people said about Kanye about his remarks about slavery, about looking at slavery as, at a certain point that are people just enslaving themselves by continuing to make that part of the discussion. And, look, I mean, mostly he's talking about black slavery, African-American slavery. And I don't know. I mean, from my perception, sometimes I'm like, if we keep getting stuck on, if we keep reminding ourselves of only the negative parts, then, is it possible to fully evolve? It makes me think, I mean, I get scared saying some of this kind of stuff because, Kanye, the crazy thing about this is Kanye's not even allowed to think without being reprimanded so much in the public eye. Like, let the guy think. Let him, he's a genius, but the second he says something that people are like, ugh, or that the media is like, ugh, suddenly he's not a genius. He's crazy. It's like, well, let him think. So what if he's wrong? Oh, at least he's braving an idea. Look, I could think, I grew up in a white Southern environment. I could sit there and say I'm a fucking redneck and fuck this and, and some of that shit I do say, but I don't let that be my whole story. Ben Carson a while back, who is, he's a Republican, sleepy black. That's what I call him. Because Ben Carson he's the doctor who ran, who's now, I believe, like the chairman of the HUD organization or something, or Housing and Development. He ran in the Republican primaries, etc. And he talked about, he referred to slavery one time as immigration, as to how black people immigrated into America, or some black people, or most black people. And you know what? I thought that was pretty brave of him. I don't have a black child yet. I may one day. I don't know. I mean, I could have a half black child. I have black friends. If I had a black friend who was, real stuck on that mindset of I can't get ahead, I can't do this, I can't do that. It's all because of, it's all because I don't have a chance because of the color of my skin or because of this or that. I would try and help them not think that way entirely. I don't want them to lose anything that gives them fuel. I don't want anybody to lose their history. I'll be damned if I'm losing mine. I'm out here every day in this place where, they don't want a poor white kid from Louisiana to come out here who's not a redneck. I'm not a redneck. Don't call me that shit. That shit makes me mad. Now, do I have a little bit of redneck in me? Sure. But I'm rural. I just grew up poor and white, dude. We didn't have redneck. I wasn't redneck. We didn't have a bass boat. We didn't have a rebel flag. I didn't have any of that shit. We definitely didn't have a bass boat. The closest nobody ever even took me fishing, really. The closest I ever came to the high seas was bathing with 4 kids I didn't know one time. And they were black kids. And they had an old man come over and judging our bodies. But, you know, that will always be a part of me, but it doesn't define me, you know? You know, I wish sometimes that I had rich family members that would have helped me out along the way. I mean, I have some rich step family. They never helped me nothing. We got the same daddy, but they never did anything for me. At certain points, I help. You know, I would want a little help. But the truth is that my struggle is whatever makes me. That's what makes me. You know, and I know I'm kind of just rambling here, but so what? Maybe some people think Kanye's crazy. What if we thought for a second, you know what? I'm not gonna think of just. I'm tired of thinking of that. I'm tired of thinking about slavery all the time. I'm tired of being reminded of it by movies. You know, it's crazy. Like, what if I just thought of myself as I'm a black immigrant in America? I mean, in some ways, it's almost, you know, taking the higher road, maybe. And look, I get that I'm just a white guy sitting in here, you know? And yeah, we need to have black guests on and we need to talk to them. And we need to get a little bit more information. I asked Dion Cole if he would come on and talk, and he never even texted me back. So, you know, I'll try to get people that can have more of a perspective for us. But I try to keep an open mind. You know, I certainly can understand what it's like to be poor. I certainly can understand what it's like to think people, you don't have a chance. You don't have a shot. But that's what also has made, that's the only thing I have sometimes. Yeah, you can have a nice jacket or you can have a nice car. But dude, if you don't have anything on the inside of you, if you don't have your struggle, if you don't have where you came from, if you don't have your story, you know, if those things don't mean anything to you, you know, and you're never going to let them go. But there are times when I have to bite my tongue and I have to evolve a little bit. If I go into these business meetings and I just, you know, and I'm like, and I embrace that anger side of me, or that side of me that feels slighted, that feels fucked over. You know, nobody ever gave me anything. Rich people weren't driving, you know, rich white people weren't driving through the poor white area and giving us shit. If anything, I felt like rich white people looked at me like I was a pariah. Like I was I don't know what pariah means, but I was like, oh, I'm not messing with that. Whatever, that's poor whiteness. You find me far from that. Like I was if they came by me, they were going to catch whatever I had. You know, and so that's where, you know, so my mindset came from. What if we all forgave everybody for everything? What if a lot of these black leaders and speakers got up one day and said, you know what? We forgive the people that did whatever they did against us. Damn, that would be the boldest shit ever. That would be very empowering. Where that makes it tough to be able to do that is the finances. You know, and I get it. And that's why sometimes the ideas of socialism look, you know, some of that looks, it just, if anything, that the thing that makes me think, you know, and I'm not a socialist. Maybe there's a part of me that is emotionally, but people aren't willing to give up their money. You know, people aren't willing to. You know, we're still transitioning from a colonial time into a time, you know, where people were taking over lands. You try to take over somebody's land now, fuck you can't. You're in court. And they're telling you to get your fucking marmot tent off their property. You know, if you try to plant corn in your neighbor's yard or go over there with an axe, he's going to fuck you up. You know, and they're going to call the HOA. So times have changed, but you know, I think I just, you know, I loved how the media jumped on Kanye immediately. Oh, look, he's anti this and he's anti that. Is he? Or is he, if he's a genius, if he's maybe just hear his thoughts. What if we tried it? You know? And the media just, honestly, bro, I'm so sick of how many times they've led me wrong. The media's full of shit. They don't know anything because it's just the same groups of people. They always take the same groups of people. It's always they're based out of New York and LA. What do they know? You know, that's where their stories, all these articles are coming from. They don't know. All they know is these small little circles that are getting more and more gentrified. And not just gentrified, and I know that's kind of a white thing like these cities, but it's a money thing. Dog, you can't even get mugged in Manhattan anymore. Try to get mugged in Manhattan. You can't. You got to stay. Queens. Shout out Queens, bro. Queens will still fuck you up. You know, but some of these other places, Brooklyn. Where Brooklyn at? Brooklyn's growing a mustache, dude. Brooklyn's listening to Leonard Cohen, baby. Brooklyn's just gotten all hipstered up. And look, I love that place. I go there and perform at the knitting factory, with those boys, with Will and those boys, and they got a great crew. But man, sometimes I don't know. I guess I'm rambling. But what if we try? I think in our hearts we all want to do things that are right, but then in our pocketbooks is where we get scared. And the media works from a place of our pocketbooks. And I know you guys are saying, well, what are you talking about the news? But look, man, the news is just scares people. I think the news will say shit's bad. Go outside. Shit's not that bad. The news told us it was Nazi uprisings. It was 200 weirdos in South Carolina. That's all it. Has there been a ton of other shit? No. I do think that a lot of these stories that help us make us think and question stuff. The news say everybody's racist and everybody's this and that. And I was just in my small town in Louisiana and I asked the teachers there and they said that racism is not like it used to be in this small school. And that was one of the things that they pointed out. And I like hearing that. And so I don't know. Some of that stuff just makes me mad. I don't know. I'm rambling. Let's go to some other calls. And so I don't know. I guess my thoughts on it are: what if we tried how brave it is to think differently, and to say it, dude. Especially in LA, it's so hard to say what you want to say because you won't work. These places won't hire you if you speak your mind. And you want to talk about being enslaved? I was told my whole life, you leave a place, you want to be more liberal. You go to California and you take your dreams out there and you got a chance, And I grew up seeing people like me on television and being like, oh man, I got a chance. Maybe I could end up out there. Maybe I can make people laugh, Maybe I could take the one thing in my life that brings me joy, which is those moments when people are laughing. Because I knew if somebody was laughing that they couldn't be hating me at the same time. And nobody probably did hate me, but I hated myself so much that I just thought they all did. So I was like, I got to make them laugh because they can't hate and laugh at the same time. Your body can't do it. So then I get into that and I come out to California and they, and then suddenly it's like if you're from these places, if you're from the Midwest, you're from the South, and, they just look down on us. But they'll come there and take our stories in a heartbeat. They'll come there and buy our stories, buy our scripts. They'll come there and shoot a Duck Dynasty show until they, until it isn't making money for them anymore. Then they'll burn it down. They'll use us as much as they want, some of these places. So I don't know, man. Look, I'm probably ruining my fucking career by saying some of this, but whatever. I'm not. I'm going to be okay. Some of it's just frustrating sometimes because you get here and that's not the truth. Everybody isn't welcome. Everybody's story is, you got to fight so hard sometimes to get your story out. But that's the struggle. They'll never take it away from me. But if I go into some of these meetings and I yell and I say, well, I can't do that. I got to evolve. I got to say, look, life's tough on everybody. Everybody has their story. Everybody has their struggle. I'll keep that inside myself and I'll just make people laugh if I can, because that's what I came here for, right? And so that's what I got to remember. That's been the toughest thing. That's been one of the toughest things for me to remember over the years. I used to get on stage and be so angry. I would be out here and I'd be performing. I'd be so angry that I wasn't getting a chance. And now I'm grateful. A lot of that anger has been lifted. I mean, I can come here and talk to you guys and kind of reflect and get back into it. But a lot of that overall has been lifted. And that's, that's one of the blessings of life, I guess, or it's one of the little blessings in my own. I got to be grateful for that. Sorry for this ramble, man. Sometimes I don't know what I'm talking about, but I hate feeling like I can't talk. Here's what I hate feeling. I hate feeling like it's fucked up for somebody to share an idea because it's not the status quo, because it's not going to get the most likes on Instagram that day, or because it's not going to, oh, Kanye's a genius until he shares one idea that people are like, huh? Maybe he's a genius. Maybe he's not. I'm not saying that slavery never happened or that, I'm not saying any of that shit. But I thought it was really interesting when Ben Carson said, he referred to, I don't know if I even expounded on it, but he goes, when black people immigrated to America. And I thought, wow, it's brave of him to say that. Because that's brave, a way to rethink, a way to repurpose the thing that haunts, Yeah, slavery is America's biggest sin. But to repurpose that and then go forward, the pride it takes to fucking do that. If you telling me that ain't brave, bro, and I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that's wrong, but I'm not going to sit here and be afraid to even talk about an idea or a thought that I have. Because then what is this? What is this podcast? What are we doing?